Hi again, everybody. It is Friday morning, August 19th, 2022. In this video, I'm going to continue on with the active discussion following up on the prior two videos. I'm going to show you some of the nuances of the active and what you can do with it. This is fully explained in the GAN science book, but I'm going to break some of this down for those of you that don't have that. So what we're looking at here in the octave, we have 7 tones in the octave, with the eighth tone being the do in the repeat mode. So what I have here is the soybean chart again. This is a weekly chart of soybeans. What I have marked out here is the do to do octave of the 896 to 1792 octave, and we're looking at 2018 to the current price action right here. So I've marked the intervals out: the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, and do. The do, so, and the do I've marked in red horizontal lines. The eighth intervals of re, mi, and ti I've marked in blue. And the force points of fa and la are in green. So inside of each octave, you can have 3 sub-octaves. This is part of the law of 3. The other part of the law of 3 is that there are 3 forces: the positive, the negative, and the neutral. So those of you who have read the GAN books, particularly The Tunnel Through the Air, have heard mention of the positive, negative, and neutral forces. The forces occur at the do, fa, and la points. So the positive, negative, and neutral force can appear in the octave at any of the 3 force points: do, fa, and la. These forces are not locked in place. They're locked in the fact that they are always at do, fa, and la, but they can switch their role. So one time the do can be a positive, or call that the ascending force, or the shock area where a price moves up or down right through. It can be negative, where it can be a repelling force, where it can turn the market back down if it's rising. And then the neutral point, where it becomes a point of consolidation. So what you can see here, I've marked the complete bigger octave that we're looking at in this red square from do to do. So again, this is that 896 to 1792 natural octave that we looked at in soybeans. Now I've put these 3 blocks over here to the right side of the chart, and those are the areas of the 3 sub-octaves that can be developed inside this larger octave. So in the octave work, and this is right from the Gurdjieff work, who is probably the main proponent of this vibrational active thinking. For a more modern look at that, you might want to look at Russell Smith Cosmic Secrets, or the Gurdjieff material. I cover this in the GAN science book. This is one part of what we're looking at with the actives, along with the other components of that book, the periodic table and the other stuff. So you can only develop a new octave between the re and the mi note in this area, this first box. You could develop an octave between the mi and the so note. And then finally you can develop an octave between the so and the do note. So you can break this down, take a deeper look at the price action inside these octaves, and then you can break this down in the same principles that apply on the larger octave apply on the smaller octaves too. I've also marked in here fib retracement tool set to the diatonic ratios of the 12.5, 25, 33, 50, 66, 7, 87.5, and 100% parts of the octave. So just a couple of quick points. You can see here that the this is the fa tone of the smaller octave. It overlaps with the la tone of the larger octave. So you can see how a key principle is where these uh, points of tonal overlap come together. Those often indicate stronger support resistance points. Where here you see the la tone of the smaller octave is close to the T tone of the larger octave, and in that area, the first time it was a rejection point, and then that became, so here would be the negative force, whereas when it was uh, approached again up here, it became the neutral force. It became an area of consolidation. And what happens when one of these levels is acting as a neutral force, and it's the neutral force can kind of be attributed to being like a gravity center. So when you're looking at that area of that neutrality, if you look at that on that line note, the market will move up and down roughly the same amount above and below that particular neutral area before it finally breaks out and goes to another level. So this is the bigger picture of what this looks at. I'm going to flip to a daily chart and we're going to just zoom in on this larger octave right here on a daily chart between this so and the do note here on this larger octave. So let's dial in and take a look at that. So here's a dialed in daily chart with the same levels marked on it. So as we come into this so to do inner octave here, this tighter octave, you can see that the fa of the smaller octave overlays with the la of the larger octave. And as you work with these octaves and look at the internal, as you count them down, or if you expand them upward, you can see these points of overlap, which become important points for the price activity. Key point to make here, the forces can switch what they do, how they perform. For instance, the do note here, force 1, is a positive. We break right through, then we break through the ray. We come back, we test the lower ray, but jump right back into this, I mean the lower T, and jump right back into this upper octave where it continues to ascend. So you can see the tones will take on different characteristics. After the initial break, it became sort of a consolidation point. The fa tone here, it broke through, then that became an area of critical support, and then the la tone was negative here, where it was the point of rejection, where it stopped that upward move, kicked it right back to the fa tone, did a retest of the la, and broke down, and actually broke the T note down here. Then this area of do became a neutral area. It became a point of consolidation, and you can see how the amount down to here is the same amount that it went back up, and then it went into this triangle motion and broke down to the fa area of the larger octave. Always an important point for key support or resistance are the fa and la tones in any octave. Then later on, you can see that the fa tone here on the inner octave, which was also the la of the larger, that became a positive force when that was broken next time, and that went right up to the T level before it kicked back down. And if you look at the area of the la tone here, you can see the market's doing the same amount above and below, where the la tone became this area of consolidation, or that became the gravity center. So you can use that as a measuring stick, and you know what the potential of the market is there, and it's bouncing between the So and the T tones there for quite some time. And then when it did come and uh, test the higher part of the octave, you can see what happened there. That Do became a negative force and kicked the market back all the way to the Do level and even below into the lower T level before. So the key point to make here is that once you understand how these octaves are set up and you understand how the forces work and what the key levels are for these forces, this can be a great aid in your trading because it'll help you to read the market and also give you that anticipation of what's going to occur as you get into each of these levels. So we'll continue on with this active thinking and do some more examples on this moving forward.